Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the NASJA press briefing. It is just a matter of, let's call it weeks, maybe a few weeks until the start of the 2022-23 season. All of us are on pins and needles waiting for that, waiting for those first flakes of snow to replace the beautiful colored leaves we have up at our mountains right now. To kick it off, I'd like to welcome the president of the NASJA Journalist Group. Please welcome Jeff Blumenfeld. Jeff.
Hey guys, thanks very much. Welcome to this first press briefing of the year. The purpose for this presentation is to give you story ideas that you can work off of through this coming season. So I've asked our presenters to really kind of focus on what are the key story ideas that their resorts and their services want to emphasize to our active writers. First, a quick update. Our renewals are coming in. We now have 116 active press members, and we have 44 corporate members. If you owe materials to the Credentials Review Board, please make sure you get those in. Doug Fish of Yeti Pass, who you'll be hearing from shortly, has agreed to serve on the Credentials Committee. So Doug, thank you for that. Looking forward to your presentation. November 18th, during the Snowbound Expo, we're going to have a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning at Heinz Auditorium. You'll get more details on that. So I hope many of you will be able to join us in Boston on November 18th. We'll also be talking, it's a little too late for the raccoon folks to stay up in the UK. So I'll be reminding you to get your Snowbound press passes. You can do that online. I'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. Our next professional development will be an examination of new forms of communications, or what we like to say, or what we like to ask is whether or not the press release is dead. Is the press release dead? Zoom in December, so we're working on that now. Check the newsletter for a host of member benefits. If we work our cards right, their cost of joining NASJA certainly can be offset by member benefits that you take advantage of. And you'll see that list of member benefits in the last newsletter, so check for that. We are in the process right now of planning our future trips. We'll send out a survey to see if your interest in terms of going to various venues that we'll talk about in the survey. At this point, it's my pleasure to turn it back to Tom. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate your comments. We're going to get it underway in just a second, but I'd like to introduce the coordinator of NASJA's corporate program, Troy Hawks, to say a few words of welcome. Troy?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I'm going to be really brief so we can be efficient on time here, but just a quick thank you to all of our panelists for taking time out of your busy schedules. Obviously, it's a busy, very busy time of the year for you all, so we appreciate your time this evening. And as well, we appreciate the time of our journalist members. We had a similar press briefing last year as ski areas were kind of coming out of COVID and wanted to share news with the journalist community as to what new protocols the guests might see when they were come to the resorts last year, and it was well received. So we want to carry this event forward. We're grateful for everyone that joined us tonight, and we're hoping to build more awareness and participation with this moving forward. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And Tom, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you very much, Troy. Appreciate it. I'm going to give you a little bit of the ground rules for the media session that we have coming up. First of all, if I could ask everyone to please mute your audio. You can keep your video up if you'd like, but please mute your audio so we have a good, clean background. We are also recording this, and we will make this available through NASJA's social media and website channels. We have a good group of around 8 or 10 different resorts or organizations with us here today. Each of them will have 3 minutes for a presentation, followed by approximately 2 minutes of Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, let's get those out when each of the presenters gives their information. If you are a presenter and you are presenting, I have given you co-hosts, so you should be able to share. And again, we have a chat going, so if you'd like to throw questions in the chat, that is by far the most efficient way to do it. And a big thanks to MP for monitoring the chat for us here today. She also manages all of the social media channels for NASJA. Okay, to kick it off, we're going to head up to Canada and specifically over to Quebec. Quebec is an awesome area, and I know that many of you have skied up there, and we're going to learn a little bit more tonight about the Quebec culture and also how the snow is looking at the ski areas in Quebec for this coming season. My pleasure to welcome from the Association of Quebec Ski Areas. Please welcome Sophie LeBlanc-Leroux. Sophie?
Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen with you. All right. So hi, I have the pleasure to start the meeting tonight. I hope that my English speaking will be understandable for all of you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. My name is Sophie LeBlanc-Leroux. I work as a communication coordinator for the Quebec Ski Areas Association, and it's a real pleasure to meet you all. I don't know if any one of you have already been to Quebec for skiing. If you didn't have the chance to come here yet, I'm gonna give you a few reasons to book your next trip to Quebec. Is everyone hearing me well?
Yes.
Yep, all good.
Okay, thanks. First of all, the journey is not just about the snow, the hills, or the mountain elevation. It's about the experience when you come to Quebec, and you can ask your Quebec colleague MP. You get to meet passionate people, and you can do an immersive experience and dive into what's Quebec all about, the culture. In a few words, you get more than snow. Well, you get snow first, a nice quality of snow, whether it's in the Chic-Choc in Gaspésie, or in Charlevoix at Mont-Grand-Fond, or in Sutton, very close to Vermont. You can find really good snow. Then you get to see the landscape. Of course, you see mountains, small ones, big ones. You can also see lakes and rivers at each corner of your trip. Festive atmosphere. Like I told you, you meet passionate people. And when passion meets après ski, it usually turns out to be really fun, festive at night around the ski areas. You also get to ski, of course. Skiing is for everyone here in Quebec, including families, intermediate experts, glade lovers, powder fans, fresh groomed trail skiers. Really, it pleases everyone. Also, Quebec has a lot more to offer than ski. In Quebec, you're always not too far from a great or a big city where you can also do a lot of activities like Quebec or like Montreal. You're never too far from a nice restaurant, a sweet tiny hotel, a festive microbrewery, a calming spa. The experience is yours. You build it like you want. We have around 75 ski areas in 16 touristic regions. We have the highest night skiing concentration in the world, with about 44 ski areas offering ski under the stars. Worth the trip, isn't it? Only in the Laurentians, we have 12 ski areas. You can also visit the eastern townships with their Bromont, Sutton, Alzette. You can book a trip to Quebec region to visit Mont-Saint-Anne, Stoneham, and many more. If you're a fan of natural snow and you're looking for tons of snow, plan to go to Gaspésie and Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. The choice is hard to do between all of our ski areas and their unique experience. Thank you. Do you have any questions? MP, I didn't monitor the chat.
Sophie, thank you very much for a great presentation. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. I'm going to actually kick it off with one. Can you give us a sense of what is a typical ski season from the start to the finish in Quebec?
Usually, well, we have a champion ski areas, which is called Sommet Saint-Sauveur. They start usually around Halloween and they end mid-May, if I can say it. But usually the ski areas open around the end of November, and they close their season after Easter.
We have a question in the chat, and this one's a really cool one. There are different parts of the country where night skiing is really a part of the culture. Can you talk about the importance of night skiing in Quebec as a part of the whole ski experience there?
Yes, totally. The night skiing, just like I said, is really popular in Quebec. We have 44 ski areas that offer it, and it's a really nice experience. You know, when you finish working, you can go at the ski areas. Like I said, we have 75 ski areas, so there's always one really close to your home or to your work. So when you finish working, you can just go make a few runs, and it's also really popular on the weekends. So yeah, it's part of the culture.
Great. And we have a question from a Mark at Ski the Northwest. Really good question. Can you tell us, Sophie, what areas in Quebec are on multi-passes like Epic, Icon, Indy, and so forth?
I would like to answer you with a really smart answer, but I don't know the exact one. Maybe Marie-Pierre, you can help me on that.
Yes, we have on Icon, we just have Tremblant, and because the closest one would be in Ontario after that at Blue Mountain, then out west. On Epic, there was an agreement with a few days, but now it's we'll talk about the with Mont Saint Anne group, and we also have, like you said, Mont Saint Sauveur. My first employer when I was 18, they have 5 resorts on one pass. They used to own G-Peak, so that answers a little bit.
Cool. Thank you very much, MP. And then a question from Sean Suttner. This actually is a really good one. I know that over the past couple of years, some of the border regulations with COVID were really inhibited travel. How are things looking right now as we look ahead to the season? Are the borders pretty freely open?
Well, during the COVID years, we had a lot of people from Quebec going to ski in Quebec ski areas. So we had a roughly good years in the 2 past years. So the lifting of the COVID measures at the borders, I think it's a really good news for Quebec ski areas. I'm talking about Mont Sutton, you know, the ones in the eastern townships that are really close to the border, and the ones that are like Tremblant, Mont Saint Anne, and the biggest ones. It's a really nice news for us.
Cool. Well, Sophie, thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here and telling us a little bit more about Quebec. And if anyone needs to reach Sophie, you can just leave a note in the chat, and I'm sure she'll get back to you. Next, we're going to move and talk a little bit of cross country. It's my pleasure to introduce the executive director of the Cross Country Ski Areas Association. This organization is its mission is to promote the growth and also improve the quality of cross-country skiing across North America. Please welcome Reese Brown. Reese.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, NASJA, for inviting me tonight. I'd like to talk a little bit about what we have learned recently about our new audience since COVID has begun, and then follow up with what the industry is doing with that information. The last several years have been incredibly exciting for cross-country skiing. We've seen a large influx of new and lapsed skiers to cross-country. And I think they realized that in 2020, 2021, that cross-country skiing is the perfect winter activity for COVID. We're also seeing a large number of alpine skiers coming through the doors, a group we historically have only seen when the alpine mountains were on wind hold or when it was super cold. I'm going to share my screen and just run through a couple quick slides, if I may. There we go. So as an industry, we spent a lot of time in the last 3 years speaking to our audience, or actually listening to our audience, and trying to understand who this new cross-country skier is and the new influx of people. What we found is that cross-country skiers do not sit idle between seasons. They find their way to trails in the off-season. 97% of them are walkers, 93% are hikers. You can see the rest there. They're very active, and this has been super consistent over the last couple of years. So they're definitely trail users. We asked them what describes them, which was a really interesting question. And they categorize themselves, top of the list there is casual, second outdoor everything, and intellectual. They do not categorize themselves as fitness junkies until you get quite further down the list. And we felt this was really interesting. Looking at that new cross-country skier, for years, people have thought that cross-country skiing was all about the massive workout and that granola eating kind of grizzled dude out in the woods. And it definitely is not that person. So super exciting to get some data to back that up. In terms of brand attributes, we asked them what was important to them, not only with their ski area, but with their equipment and really kind of their core values in life. And they talked about quality, performance, and value as their three top kind of core values, which again was interesting and helps us learn a little bit more about them and how we can interact with them. And then we asked about their go-to ski area and what they liked about it, what they didn't, and where they could improve the investment. And 34% they said nothing. They love it. They love their ski area. It's perfect the way it is. Looking down that list, grooming continues to rate very high with every consumer, which is quite interesting. And then facilities. And I think we see that facilities coming from those that are expecting a little more, coming from an alpine background or something where they expect a few more amenities. So that's something that we're looking at. And then we asked them how many times they ski. And 34% of them are diehard skiers, skiing 30 plus days a year. If you look at your alpine skiers, there's a lot that are skiing 30 plus days. So it's that type of person. And again, we've been looking at, asking the questions of, who is this new cross-country skier and how can we better understand them and accommodate them? For this coming year, we've listened to that audience and we are implementing some of the following initiatives. Greater effort on customer service and better accommodations of this new audience. So we realize that they're changing a bit. They're expecting a little more in terms of amenities when they get to the ski area. As an industry, we're working on that. We're also hosting roundtables on managing growth and also managing that customer experience. So really spending some time looking at what do they see when they arrive at our ski area? How do we create the environment that's going to make them comfortable? We're also spending a lot of time on grooming, and we've instituted some regional grooming clinics, understanding that the grooming here in New England is considerably different than the grooming in BC or out west in the Rockies. We're also expecting, looking at this coming season, we're expecting a little more growth this year in terms of skiers, not to the extent that we have seen previously, but we do feel that we're still on that growth curve. And regarding equipment, we continue to see supply chain issues this season. Again, will be challenging for both retailers and consumers, but we continue to push the message. If you want it, buy it now. And I think the entire population is understanding that is the case, be it in cross-country skis or anything else. From a KISSA standpoint, our membership is increasing. We had our best year ever last year, and right now we're tracking with 18 new members this year over last year. So that's super exciting. One of the biggest news, I think, this year is that we've joined with Yeti Pass, and we're offering a cross-country specific pass as well as the Alpine Pass will be accepted at all of the cross-country ski areas. This is super exciting for me. I think anytime cross-country can get in front of that Alpine audience, that is a great opportunity. And I'll let Doug speak a little more to that. In closing, I'll note that we are watching very closely what is happening with the crowds. We definitely are seeing and hearing from our customer that when it's super crowded at the local Alpine mountain, we're starting to see those people coming cross country because the experience is quite different. And we're also watching inflation in the economy. Historically, cross country has not been impacted by the economy quite as much as Alpine. I think that's because we actually have the highest demographic in terms of household income of all snow sports in the cross-country community. With that, I'll say the industry is ready for the season, and we're looking forward to that first snowfall. I'll open up to any questions.
Great. Thanks very much, Reese. We just have one other. Do you get a sense, are most people skiing close to home for groomed trails, or are they making it a destination activity?
We're seeing a little of both. People do like to travel and ski different areas, so we are seeing that. But our local ski areas are generally seeing a larger number of season passes, and that could be not only from the local people, but also the Alpine people that are coming to those areas for the Alpine mountains. So we're seeing a little of both. But we've noticed with the exception of COVID and when some areas were closed, we're starting to see people travel more than they had previously for cross-country skiing.
Great. Reese, this has been really informative. If you wouldn't mind, would you be able to put your statistics up in the chat for people who might want to grab some of those? Those were quite fascinating.
Yeah, I'll put a link to our website I'll also send it out to the member list that I have from NASJA.
Great. Reese Brown, Executive Director of Cross Country Skiers Association, thank you very much. Now we're going to go to an incredibly innovative program that just started a couple of years ago. I think you've all become aware of it over the last few years, but Doug Fish has created with Indy Pass truly a new and different way to ski. I went to, actually, Doug was just telling me before, 121 resorts. With that, Doug, take it away and tell us what's the latest with Indy Pass.
On mute.
Yeah, you've got to unmute, Doug.
Apologies, I'm muted. I need access to screen sharing.
Okay, stand by. Bear with me, Doug.
Doug, where are you based?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Portland.
Mount Hood is my home mountain. And as I was saying when I was muted, thank you for having me today. Thank you to NASJA for inviting me to participate on the Credentials Committee. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you should be good to go, Doug.
Okay, yep, there we go. Thank you. Okay. All right. So the Indy Pass is celebrating 3 years this month. We launched 3 years ago in 2019. We're entering our 4th season of supporting independent, authentic resorts across North America and Japan. Things have been busy here at World Headquarters since the end of last season, and I want to cover everything that's new this year. Since April, we've added 40 new resort partners.
Wow.
We are now, as Tom mentioned, at 121 total Alpine and Nordic resorts. We will be announcing 10 more on October 11th. And year to date through September, our sales are up 67%. Currently, we are still the best deal for a multi-mountain pass on the planet at $329 for an adult base pass and $429 for no blackouts. Notable new resorts for 22-23. Out of those 40, Mount Hood Meadows, Oregon, Mountain High and Dodge Ridge in California, Nubs Knob in Michigan, and our first non-lift served resort, Bluebird Backcountry in Colorado. As Reese said, we are opening it up to cross-country resorts this year. We're very excited about this new approach. We're the only pass that offers both alpine and cross-country. And sorry, my terrier is very excited today. Mom's on a conference call as well. So cross-country resorts will be accessible by all of our Indy Pass holders. They get 2 days, just like they do at all of our resorts. We currently have 14 resorts. And if you want to only have cross-country access, it's just $69 a year. As Reese said, this is a partnership with the Cross Country Skiers Association, and 10% of all of our cross-country pass sales are donated back to that group so they can promote that sport. We also created another tier of resorts called our Allied Resorts. These are community hills, smaller hills, and they offer discounts for Indy Pass holders. You can get up to 50% off lift ticket and 25% on peak holidays and weekends. And if you're a pass holder at one of these resorts, you can get a deep discount on an Indy Pass. And this allows these smaller hills to offer more value for their pass holders and help with their season pass retention. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about blackouts. I think the Indy Pass gets a little bit of a bad rap because we have so many blackouts, and that's partially due to our not doing a good job of explaining it in the past. But what we're trying to do here is improve the guest experience at our resorts. And the last thing we want to do is overwhelm some of these guys on a sunny powder day or a peak holiday. And by employing blackout days, we are able to regulate that traffic. We're able to keep our most popular resorts happy. And it's a much better guest experience. There's only 29 out of 121 of our resorts that do have blackouts. And this year we've implemented a new system, a color-coded calendar on our website that very clearly points out where those blackouts exist. And it's accompanied by this detailed list of which resorts apply to each of those blackout days. So, I really think that the industry needs to take a closer look at blackout days, just like airlines and concert industry, sporting events. They've all priced their products according to demand. And now that the ski industry is facing capacity issues, it's going to have to face up to the fact that peak days cost more. And if you don't want to deal with blackout days, you can pay an extra $100 and get an Indy Plus pass. That's it. We call it the Indy Revolution. Some people refer to it as the Rebel Alliance if you're a Star Wars fan. And I want to thank everyone on this call who's helped us get to where we are today. Thank you for the coverage.
Great. Thank you very much, Doug. Doug, a couple of questions from the group. First of all, do you have any sense, Doug, as to how many people are purchasing Indy Pass as their only pass, and how many are purchasing them as a supplement to Icon, Epic, or others?
That's a good question. Yes, 26% of our pass holders use the Indy Pass as a supplemental pass to their season pass or Epic or Icon pass. Another 7% purchase the Indy Pass in addition to their season pass at one of our partner resorts.
Cool. And I know you don't want to give away anything for the future, but any sense of where you might be going with more international resorts, be that in Japan, Chile, Europe, or wherever it might be?
Yeah, we added one more resort in northern Japan this year in the powder belt of northern Japan. We've not looked at South America yet. We're trying to do the best job we can in North America, and Japan kind of fell on our laps, honestly. So it worked out pretty good, but we'd love to go to South America. We'd love to go to Europe. Those things just take time.
How about Snowvana?
Oh, Snowvana. Well, Snowvana is different than the Indy Pass. It's a ski show, Get Stoked Festival that we produce in Portland, Oregon, and it's coming up the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Great. I think those are pretty much the questions. We thank you very much, Doug. Doug, where those glasses come from? Those are the hottest glasses we've got online.
Oh, thank you, Tom. I'm channeling Elton John today. It makes my hair look dark.
Very good. Doug Fish, thank you very much for your innovation and for being here today with us.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, we're going to move on now. We're making good progress here. We're going to move next to Christian Knapp, a friend of mine from right here in Park City, Utah, with Pacific Group Resorts. They've been in the news a lot lately. Pacific Group Resorts utilizes a hybrid decentralized model to allow their properties to maintain or even maximize their core attributes. And he can tell you more about that. Great little company. Christian, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Sounds good. So nice to see so many of you familiar faces on this call. First off, thanks for having me. PGRI is a proud member of NASJA, and we appreciate everything you all do to cover the industry. It's super important with the changing media environment that we have great journalists covering our industry and getting these stories out. So thank you for everything you do. PGRI was not a very well-known company prior to August 1st. August 1st was a monumental day for us when it was released that our company was in a first position on a bid for Jay Peak Resort in northern Vermont. That has played out, as you all maybe have followed or seen some of the coverage, and I'll get to that in a second. But I think, first off, what is PGRI? Pacific Group Resorts Incorporated. We are a small kind of early stage resort a multi-resort company. We strive to be geographically diversified. I think if you look at our portfolio of resorts, they are spread around the country. Our portfolio includes resorts like Wintergreen in Central Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where we have skiing in the winter and we have golf in the summer and a spa and all kinds of mountain activities. We have Wisp Resort in Maryland. It's the only ski resort in Maryland on the shores of Deep Creek Lake there. So we have beautiful summer recreation there, as well as all the mountain activities that you would expect from a ski resort in the winter. Ragged Mountain is a small kind of regional resort in southern New Hampshire that serves Boston and southern New Hampshire. That's been with us for a while. We also operate and own Mount Washington Alpine Resort on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Not a lot of people even know that there is a ski resort on Vancouver Island. I was not that familiar with it myself before starting with this company, but Vancouver Island has a lot of outdoor recreation, a lot of folks that live on the island, almost 1 million residents, and we are the only ski resort on the island, and it's a great operation up there. It's a really cool place to visit. We also have Powderhorn Resort out on the Grand Mesa in Western Colorado, which is a booming kind of area of Western Colorado near Grand Junction. And upon closing this fall, Jay Peak will be our 6th resort. So we're excited. I think, there's a lot of talk about how people run resorts and different ways to operate resorts and management styles. And I think, one of the things that I talked to about in thinking about this call is that, what is our approach to management and how do we look at operating our resorts? And the teaser that Tom said is sort of our, we do have a hybrid decentralized approach. We are a very small holding company here in Park City, Utah. And we really lean on the resorts themselves to lead their operations and be their advocates. We believe this is a one-size-fits-all approach is not the optimal way to run a resort conglomerate at this point in time. And we really put a lot of faith in the staff at our resorts to deliver on that. And sorry, I'm getting some background noise there. Anyone hear that? Thank you. That's gone. So, I think how we run the resorts has been interesting. We also take a long view. This is not a flash in the pan operation. This is something we've been carefully and intentionally building over time. We definitely want to take a mindful approach with our resorts and how we operate it. Which requires patience. At times, we definitely have a commitment to the environment, to sustainability, inclusiveness, and making sure that we're doing the right things for both our staff and our customers for the long term. We're also committed to growing the sport. I think that's another thing that people talk about a lot these days. And, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And we have the most, some of the most affordable season passes in the industry. Our Mission Affordable season passes, which we offer at 4 of our 5 resorts, started at $379 last spring for a full unlimited unrestricted season pass. We also offer a lot of opportunities for folks to learn how to ski with free programs and very discounted lesson rental packages. So that's an important thing. Our resorts are not big time destination, high-end resorts. These are regional resorts that serve that market, that middle market of the ski population, and allows people to try the sport in an attainable way in a drive proximity from a major metro. So that's what we're really focused on. And I think lastly, we're mountain people. We are not, we believe in hiring people that are core to skiing and riding. Myself and the partners here in Park City are all passionate skiers and riders. We live here in Park City in a mountain town environment. Our general managers at the resorts are hardcore skiers. Many of them came up through PSIA and ski school. And we believe that gives us a strategic advantage in how we own and operate and run these resorts. That's kind of a quick overview of who we are as a company. Jay Peak is obviously in the news, and that's sort of the highlight right now is what a lot of folks are talking about. Just a quick timeline on that. So August 1, we submitted a bid to the receiver after a long process, 3-year plus process, to acquire the resort. That triggered a 30-day window, and then there was an auction. We were the prevailing bid, and we are now moving forward. That then was approved by a district court in Florida on September 16th, and now we're moving towards closing procedures and hope to close on Jay in the next several months. So it's an exciting time. Jay is an amazing resort, phenomenal snow for the East Coast. It's got a great culture, great vibe, great leadership team. We're excited to bring it into the family.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Christian. A couple of questions for you. I know that you haven't even closed on the Jay Peak deal, but do you have a sense of, will there be any reciprocity for passes between Ragged and Jay this winter?
We're certainly having those conversations weekly, and we'll have some announcements about that once we close on Jay, but we won't make any announcements prior to closing.
And then across your resort package, do you have any particular shared pass arrangements, or is the best methodology to just go up to the window or to buy a season pass at each one of your individual resorts?
Our passes are interchangeable across the resorts. It's not universal, like unlimited, unrestricted, but we have generous access for any of our pass holders that want to travel to our other properties. And so we encourage that for sure.
And lastly, and I know you probably can't talk about this because of confidentiality, but do you have a sense of who the other bidders were in the Jay Peak auction?
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about that. That was a private sale.
Well, what's important is that you were the one that prevailed.
We prevailed, and we're very pleased and grateful that we were able to get it done.
Well, congratulations to you and the company. Christian, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, everyone.
Okay, we're going to move now up to the Canadian Rockies, and we're going to go to Powder Matt Mausteller. He's going to talk to us about some amazing resorts up there. And I'm just wondering, Matt, how deep is the powder up there in the Canadian Rockies now?
Hi, Tom. It's great to be here, and thanks everybody. And I want to thank NASJA, both Jeff and Troy, and you, Tom, for having me on the show tonight. The snow's deep. I mean, we've got glaciers that are 500-600 feet deep that we're skiing on right now, and we already have actually had our first fresh snowfall of the year. And I really want to. I also want to say thank you to Sophie. She covered off Quebec quite well. So we do have ski areas in Quebec, Mont Saint Anne and Stoneham. It's a very magical place to visit Quebec City, and Sophie said to combine a winter holiday with culture there is one of a kind experience. And then we go west. We have one ski area, and of which Tom will know real well, Nikiska in Alberta, which is a host for many ski races and also the Olympics. And then what I want to focus on are resorts along the Powder Highway, because I want to talk a little bit more about that. I think that's a very unique destination for these times. And why? Well, one, primarily, obviously, I'll go with snow. And why is it called the Powder Highway? Well, along that highway, which is larger than most, you can fit many US states in that region. It's north of the Montana and Idaho border. And it's a vast region that gets up to 70 feet of snow. And that's a lot of snow. And you know what? In the last 10 years, we've been consistently hitting our record or near record snowfall. So I know climate change is impacting our world. We've been very fortunate during these times to still receive copious amounts of snow. Our resorts along the Powder Highway are Kicking Horse in the northeastern corner of the highway, and in the southeastern corner, Fernie, and then in the middle, Kimberly. And the highway, just for anybody's own reference points, the communities along it are Revelstoke, Golden, Fernie, Kimberly, and Roslyn. All of them have wonderful ski areas in them. Why should you visit this area? Well, first, it's the largest concentration of ski resorts, heli skiing, cat skiing, and backcountry ski touring operations in the world. And the reason they're there is because of that snow. And I also want to highlight that in fitting, and we just discussed the climate, it's also the largest, I'm getting some background noise. Yeah, it's also the largest connected network in the world for a winter ski vacation. So there's e-power charging stations completely along the highway through our Community Energy Association. So it's a collaborative community effort to make it possible that you can do a really wonderful e-vehicle ski vacation there. So we call that e-powder or electric powder. So I think that's a unique option for guests this winter. And as we roll into Fernie, I want to talk about a little bit about what's interesting about Fernie. Fernie's 5 alpine bowls. It's the largest vertical in the Canadian Rockies. And the uniqueness of it is it has a giant head wall. And if you can imagine the head wall of that backdrop for our guests that ski Telluride regularly, where you look towards the big rock wall in the distance from the community of Telluride, that's hovering above the ski area of Fernie. So it's famous for lots of snow. It's also famous for lots of snow control and snow safety. So with that, many things that are unique there are the founding of the Canadian Avalanche Rescue Dog Association, which is called CARDA. And that also has played into some, very interesting famous dogs that have also been deployed in the region, because they're used by the search and rescue, the first live rescue of humans that have been caught in avalanches out backcountry skiing. So we're very proud of our dogs at the Fernie Alpine Resort. As well, for many of our Americans who would like the film Hot Tub Time Machine, I know that's one of Tom's favorites. It was filmed at Fernie Alpine Resort. And you can actually stay in the house that has the hot tub if you do need to have a little bit of change in your life, or what we call a midlife crisis. Monster Energy once did an event there. It's no longer done there. It's probably the craziest event that was ever had at any ski resort in North America. And it was called Behind Enemy Lines. And you can ask questions about that one later if you like. It's an easy access to the Powder Highway. I would say the thing is, you can get away from all the crowds. You can be skiing in Arrival. If you fly into Glacier Park International, as one easy way into it, which is in Whitefish, Montana, it's just an hour and a half to Fernie. You can be skiing that afternoon from Salt Lake and Denver. It's easier than having to fight either of the traffic challenges you may face skiing in and out of any of those regions. Up in the northern eastern corner is Kicking Horse Mountain Resort. Kicking Horse is also famous for 5 big alpine bowls. It's got the 5th biggest vertical in North America. It's got close to 3,000 acres. We actually have more than that, but that's what we say in our skiable terrain right now, but we're opening more even this winter. We're also the host for the Freeride World Tour. It's not a place to go if you're just a beginner. It is definitely a place to go where you want to challenge yourself for skiing and riding. And a lot of people realize that with over 80 inbound chutes, which is the most inbound chute collection of any ski area in North America, it is the place to challenge yourself. It also has Canada's highest restaurant, so you can enjoy 1,000 peaks in your view. Interesting enough, wildlife. I'm not talking about that kind of wildlife at the après ski. But we're also we have a grizzly bear refuge at Kicking Horse, and you go across over it in our gondola. And in the summertime, Boo the bear does come out. He was rescued, and it is a test to show that bears are hot-wired to survive in the wild. And so we support an organization that rewilds bears. So if a mom is killed by a train or by trucks on the highways, then instead of shooting the cubs, which has been the common action, now we are paying to have those bears, the cubs, taken into a location, into the wilderness, so that they can continue on their natural lives and enjoy the wilderness. I'd also like to highlight real quickly, lastly, along those things that are really important to us, the people, our communities, and the environment, and we're also involved obviously in I just mentioned the grizzly bear. Another aspect that we're doing in all of our mountain environments is supporting the white bark pine, which is a very important main source of food for the grizzly bear. So we've planted over 5,000 white bark pines in the alpine to support their needs. Lastly, we support the Indigenous Life Sport Association. It's important to support local First Nations kids that are in foster care so that they can learn how to ski and snowboard and hopefully create a pathway for them to enjoy the mountains in the future and the tradition that we're so fortunate and grateful to be able to enjoy.
Matt, thank you very much for that tour of the Canadian Rockies. That was really fun. I want to know how many of you on the call Googled Hot Tub Time Machine, the 2010 classic with John Cusack in it. That's definitely a stop you want to make. Just one question for you, Matt. Do you still have resorts that are on the Epic Pass?
We do. We actually have all of our resorts on the Epic Pass. So all 6 across the country.
Sweet. Okay, thank you very much, Matt. And from the Canadian Rockies, we are going to head all the way back to New England, to New Hampshire. And it's interesting, you know, when we think about going on ski trips now, it's not just one tank of gas, but it's how many charges on the car. New Hampshire is really ideally suited. And to tell us a little bit more about things at Ski New Hampshire, please welcome Abby Allen. Abby?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up
Good.
a slide real quick. My name's Abby Allen. I'm the Assistant Director of Ski New Hampshire, the trade association for 32 ski areas in New Hampshire. I love bragging about skiing in New Hampshire, so I really appreciate the opportunity to share what makes skiing in the Granite State so special. Where's my slide? All right. So with the tremendous interest in skiing the past few years, New Hampshire ski areas have great momentum with their capital improvement projects to enhance the safety and guest experience this ski season. Waterville Valley Resort is well on their way to completing the installation of their brand new 6-pack high-speed bubble chairlift. The tagline is up, the comm line has been pulled through, and they start with the haul rope tomorrow, and they start splicing next week. It is the first chairlift of its kind in the United States and was specifically engineered by M&D Ropeways for Waterville Valley's winter weather and will provide a more comfortable and efficient ride. You can watch their video on their website, their live stream. Attitash Mountain is replacing its east and west double chairlifts with a single fixed grip 4-person chair called the Progression Quad, which will provide access to terrain for all ability levels, as well as a cutover trail to Bear Peak. Attitash plans to replace their Summit Triple for the 23-24 season. Loon Mountain is in the process of installing the refurbished Seven Brothers Express Quad, so that'll be done very soon. With the cost of energy increasing across the country, our ski areas continue to improve their top-ranked snowmaking and grooming capabilities with new high-efficiency snowmaking guns, some fully automated fan guns, semi-automated hydrants, and upgraded nozzle packages. Black Mountain Ski Area has been restoring their historic J-bar, which is the oldest overhead cable lift in New Hampshire that was installed in 1935. So they can use it as their new learning area this season. They also reconnected and replaced their snowmaking pipes in the Whitney Field near the J-bar so they can improve their early season snowmaking on that side of the mountain. For terrain park fans, Gunstock has a new Piston Bully 400 park groomer that will keep their park features ready for action. Cranmore is currently engaged in their base area redevelopment plan that will morph that resort into a progressive 4-season destination. The new Fairbank Lodge is currently under construction and is scheduled to be completed by the start of the 23-24 winter season. Both King Pine and Pat's Peak will be celebrating their 60th year of operations this winter, and they'll be offering separately a number of anniversary events. Pat's Peak will also be offering a new large outdoor seating area complete with igloos and heated pavers. And they began construction on their new 12,000 square foot facility. Whaleback Mountain is a nonprofit ski area that is installing new and better lighting that will help provide a safer and better experience at the ski area. And I wanted to let you guys know that we Ski New Hampshire are bringing back our Ski 603 Winter Kickoff event, which is a press event at McIntyre Ski Area in Manchester. It's going to be on Friday, December 2nd. Communications and marketing representatives from our ski areas will be there to share what they have going on at their resort. We are still working out the details, but I'll share a link in the chat so you guys can send me your info and we can get you on that list. New Hampshire really has it all. We're super close to major metropolitan areas, Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We have new and updated chairlifts, state-of-the-art high-efficiency snowmaking, and new and updated facilities. So fill your tank, charge your EV, stay a little closer to home, and take a day or weekend trip and check out the amazing new investments we have at our ski areas.
Great, Abby. Thank you very much for the quick tour of New Hampshire. Appreciate it. We don't have any specific questions, but if you do, you can put them in the chat and Abby will be online here. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go across the country again, this time all the way out to Utah, where I am actually residing here today. So to tell us a little bit about what's coming up with Ski Utah, please welcome Allison Pollentary.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Oh, it looks like we had a few questions about New Hampshire. No? Okay.
Let's actually, let's bring Abby back on for just a second to take care of those. I mean, first, a quick question on the gun stock situation. Everything's settled there, right?
Gunstock is open and management is back.
Awesome. So that's the good news. And then any particular updates on cross country?
We have a couple things in the works, but nothing to report yet.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much for coming back on. Allison, back to you.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. And great. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. What's new in Utah? There's a lot new in Utah, so thanks for letting me talk a little bit about that. Capital improvements. We have almost all of our resorts, I'd say like 90% of them, of the 15, have capital improvements this year. I've listed out a few here and I won't go into all of them, but Alta is replacing their Sunnyside lift with a new 6-pack, which is super exciting, and adding Wyson Towers for avalanche mitigation. Snowbird, of course, has a brand new tram. Sundance is adding another new lift. This is the second season in a row, which is great, as well as 10 new runs. Woodward Park City is increasing their terrain park features. Park City Mountain has new employee housing, as well as an enhanced opera experience in Canyons Village. Solitude has additional avalanche mitigation, as well as their yurt has been revamped for this upcoming season and will now be open for lunch. Deer Valley is adding a new beginner lift. Eagle Point has 10 new studio cabins. Nordic Valley has new glade runs, and that's just to name a few. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's new at Ski Utah specifically. We're super excited that we've expanded our passport program. Previous years, our passport program has just been for 5th and 6th graders. This year, we've added 4th graders to the mix, and each of those grades will receive 3 days at each of our 15 resorts. So that's less than $2 a day for 45 days of skiing, which is the best deal in skiing. And students from anywhere are eligible to participate. I think there's some common misconceptions that only Utah students are able to participate, but anybody who's on vacation in Utah can also participate. So we're super excited to expand access to skiing for kids and adults. Discover Winter. Last season, we launched a really neat program that we're super proud of at Ski Utah. So Discover Winter aims to introduce diverse individuals and LGBTQ plus individuals to skiing. We provided 4 lessons, all necessary gear. So pants, underlayers, jackets, helmets. Our office looked like a gear store for a large part of last season. As well as goggles, just anything they would need to get started with skiing, as well as rentals. And then we provided transportation to and from the mountains, from the major metropolitan areas, so from Salt Lake or from Ogden, as well as lift tickets and 4 lessons. At the end of the program, each participant received a Yeti Pass. Yeti Pass is our companion program to the passport program. So it's for adults, and you get 1 day of skiing at each of our 15 resorts. So at the end, they got to keep skiing. And it was an amazing success. We worked with a variety of different groups, and they were so excited to experience skiing for the first time, many of them. And many of them had been interested in skiing, and just when you don't grow up skiing and your family doesn't ski and none of your friends ski, it's just so hard to get started. So we tried to decrease all the barriers possible to get folks started skiing. And we were able to introduce 150 new skiers, which is really exciting. The program will be coming back for this year, and we're really excited about it. And we're actually running a sweepstakes that's has some pretty fun prizes. If anybody feels like entering, more than welcome to. And we can also give you a code for 20% more entries, but there's some pretty good prizes in there. Heli skiing, 2 Ski Utah Gold Passes, Rossignol set up for 2, Stio set up for 2. So we're just hoping to fund the program. Last year, the program was funded through a CARES Act grant that's no longer around. So, but we're really excited to have that back for this season. I just want to talk a little bit about sustainability here in Utah. Ski Utah is excited that we were officially certified climate neutral for our 2021 emissions. That means we offset all of our emissions for 2021. And as part of being climate neutral certified, we also come up with a plan to reduce further emissions, which is really exciting. Of course, none of this is particularly new information, but just a reminder that, you know, many of Ski Utah's resorts are participating in the Climate Collaborative Charter, and then other resorts have their own sustainability initiatives or you know, initiatives that highlight our unique environment here in Utah. We have Alta's Birding on Skis program, Sundance's glass blowing program. Deer Valley prints their maps on rock paper, which is water resistant to kind of decrease the amount of maps they need to print each year. Snowbirds on a well system. 7+ of our Utah resorts have electric vehicle charging stations, and 10 of our Utah resorts are plastic straw free. That is kind of all I have. We will be sending out a What's New press release here shortly, so I'll make sure that everyone here is on that media list. Feel free to email me as well at allison@skiutah.com. And then lastly, since Tom was just talking about this earlier today, we have a Ski Utah podcast, which is pretty neat, and Tom is our host. And I encourage everyone to tune in. We always have some really great guests and some really interesting information, and they go a little bit further into some of the topics that I talked about here. So,
well, thank you very much for the plug, Allison. Actually proud to do that podcast. The opening episode will launch probably later next week. And for that opening episode, we went onto the new Snowbird tram and we hung the thing out over the cirque for about an hour to do the podcast recording. Just an amazing view. Don't ask the tram operator to do that when you go up to the top of Hidden Peak, but check it out. A couple of questions for you, Allison. I know that the Utah Department of Transportation has been looking at alternative transportation systems up into Little Cottonwood Canyon. Can you give us a quick update on where that stands now?
Sure. So the gondola option B from Lakai is what has been preliminarily chosen. That's a very high-tech gondola going from Lakai area at the base of the canyon. I believe they're also looking into tolling a little bit. I know pretty much what's been announced publicly, but Ski Utah does support the gondola option. We think it's, you know, the best way to remain sustainable and the best way to avoid the issues with the road as far as avalanches go.
And then lastly, Allison, if you could give us any update, if you have one, on the situation with the deferred lifts at Park City Mountain.
I know what everyone else knows. I do know that, you know, Park City was excited to put in those lifts, but they have been delayed. As far as I know, they're still looking at options for how they could possibly put those lifts in. But I know what's been publicly announced. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Allison. Appreciate you coming on. And from here, we're going to go back across the country to the great state of Vermont. Director of Communications for Ski Vermont, Brian Rivard. And Brian, how is the fall color in Vermont?
The fall coloring is coming in just lovely. If anyone's feeling like coming to visit, come take a scenic lift ride at one of our areas. You will not be disappointed. The reds are really coming in, so certainly can't complain. Thanks Tom and NASJA for having me on to speak with you tonight, and thank you for everyone for being here. It's a little later for some of us than others. I'm jealous of you folks on the East Coast and Doug over there in Oregon. So Vermont has a lot of things on deck this coming up this season, which we're really excited about. That demand for skiing is still strong here. I know that we had a bit of an issue with some of those restrictions back, and those are gone. But that surge in demand that we saw really kind of stepped up and is either plateauing or continuing at this point. We haven't really seen a drop off, which has been great. One of the things that I think we've really noticed across the industry in our state is people recognizing that in times, and I don't want to focus on COVID, but in these kind of uncertain times, or times when perhaps physical activity isn't as easy to come by, skiing and our sports, skiing and snowboarding, are fantastic ways to spend time and connect with people outside, and be together in a safer environment. And that personal connection is something I think has gotten strained a bit, and that's one thing that Vermont does, fortunately, very well. People that come to Vermont realize that it's the full experience and the history, and that's something that's kind of continuing throughout this coming season, because it's not just the trips to the mountains, which we obviously have across the state. It is, I'm sorry, the trips to the mountains. It's that journey that you take while you're getting there, passing through a lot of the smaller towns, and the other townships, because many of our areas are located in those rural locations where you do get that quintessential New England experience, which we're finding increasingly with a lot of the visitors. That's part of the entire package, which we're very happy to provide. On that note, for anyone who isn't familiar with the Vermont ski areas, one of the things that I like the best is that each has a very distinct flavor. We do have some new owners of Jay Peak up on, so really excited to be working with them. But from your co-ops like Mad River Glen to your Beast of the East down at Killington to Stowe, you have entirely different cultures and vibes, which I think kind of allows that personal connection to keep people coming back to Vermont for years or generations. Let's see what I had here. I lost my notes there. I think the silver lining that we have seen out of I said I wasn't going to focus on COVID, but it was such a big deal for us 2 years ago. One of the silver linings that we've seen is that the Vermont skiers have really leaned into that, making their facilities more comfortable for folks, depending on your level of comfort or your reticence to kind of come inside. We're seeing a lot more investment in infrastructure and capital investments, but also in like windbreaks, warming stations, a bit more of leaning on technology to make sure that those who want to go from car to lift can do that very quickly and easily. Folks can order from lifts for food. So it's just it's holistically been about making it a simpler, easier, more streamlined, and for some folks safer experience to come to the mountain, come to Vermont, ski one of the mountains. On the other upgrades we have some exciting news there. We have Stowe, the Sunrise 6-pack high-speed lift will be replacing the old Mountain Triple, which for anyone who's skied Stowe will not be missing that hike up to the base lift. I see a lot of heads nodding. That'll be coming online ideally this year. I mean, it is scheduled this year. Mount Snow will also be bringing their own high-speed 6-pack. They'll be replacing Sundance and Tumbleweed. And Magic Mountain down in the south will be upgrading to the Black Line Quad, which will be a fixed grip, but that's going to double their capacity, their uphill capacity. But continuing with one of the trends we've also seen in a lot of the Vermont mountains is for the preservation of the guest experience, they're going to be limiting the number of passes that are sold, so you won't have to worry about any of the lines or any of that sort of thing at Magic Mountain. Other exciting news is formerly known as Suicide 6 has now been renamed Saskatoon 6, which gives a nod to the mountain's history and the Abenaki people, which is very exciting. And we're really eager to see how they kind of collaborate with the Indigenous folks down there and telling that story. And we're also looking at a number of upgrades, which we're always excited about. Last year was a bit up and down for us here, but we're really able to lean on our snowmaking capability here in Vermont, because it's an extremely powerful snowmaking system across the state. There have been a number of upgrades. Sugarbush has upgraded the efficiency of and capacity of a number of their guns. Magic again has doubled their retention pond size. Mad River Glen, Killington has also upgraded their generators. So both for snowmaking capacity and for energy conservation, we've seen a lot of improvements across the state, which I think are really going to lend themselves well to anyone who decides to come to our fine state. Other things to look forward to are the K1 Base Lodge down at Killington. For waiting for that one. That's been on a bit of a delay, but that'll be coming online excuse me, in Thanksgiving, and that's a fantastic facility. I got a opportunity to go visit that, and it's going to be breathtaking. I don't know how well we'll compare to Allison's backdrop, but I think it'll be no one's going to be disappointed with that one. It's going to be fantastic. And then on outreach stuff, we saw a huge spike for Vermont. 80% of our visitors to skiing come from out of state. Obviously, when the borders were closed down, we had a bit of a time of that, but we saw a lot of locals step that up. But one of the things that we're doing at Ski Vermont is really working to reach those folks that aren't just infrequent skiers, but those who, again, like Allison said, not to piggyback off of it, who haven't had the opportunity, don't have any family members who do ski, and reaching those folks to try to get them, encourage them to come and try it out one time, because it is, and those of us, we all do it. It can be a very intimidating sport, and so we're really looking to knock down those barriers, to do some outreach with a lot of influencers and some other journalists, following stories of the never evers or the first timers, and trying to encourage more people to come, because we're very committed, both in our state, I think, as an industry, to proliferating that next generation of skier and rider, to impart that passion for the sport that we all have, and in a time of climate change, to also understand what it is we have to protect to keep us skiing for winters to come. So probably didn't ramble on too long there. I don't know what my time is, but that's the news from Vermont, and we'd love to have you all come out and see us.
Great. Thank you very much, Brian. No specific questions, but we do have some good leaf peeping reports if anybody wants to check the chat. So thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to stay in the great state of Vermont right now for our second to last presenter here today. We hear a lot of talk these days about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but if you look at adaptive programs around the country, they've been in this business for a long time. Vermont Ski and Adaptive program has been in this business since 1987, and very pleased to have with us here today Kim Armstrong to tell us a little bit more. Kim.
Hi, thank you. I'm having a rough time with my connection, so hopefully you can all hear me okay?
Yes, and I'm going to do your video whenever you're ready.
Okay, so hi and thank you, and Tom's going to play a quick video and then I'll chat for a couple of minutes. So Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports, we are the largest adaptive organization in the state of Vermont. And the reason why I like to show that quick video is that shows the breadth of our adaptive equipment that we have here. A lot of adaptive programs are based out of one location, and National Ability Center is probably the biggest one that comes to mind in Park City. They produce a lot of Paralympians. There's also fantastic programs in Crested Butte, in Breckenridge, Telluride, all over the country. The difference with us is that we are statewide and we have multiple locations. So we're at Pico Mountain and Killington Resort, we're at Sugarbush Resort, Bolton Valley Ski Area, Saskadina 6, and then we go to other resorts per request. So the equipment that you saw there is the equipment that we have at all of our locations, and then we transport all of that stuff to summer locations because we are year round. So there's about 50 sit skis in that video. There's a couple dozen adaptive bikes and adaptive mountain bikes, able-bodied bikes. We have a fleet of trucks and trailers to be able to haul things when we need to. And I'm gonna spew out a bunch of quick numbers because we have been around for 35 years And adaptive sports, I think, is finally on the radar simply because the whole talk of DEI lately, and really about that diversity, equity, inclusion, and making sure that everybody can participate and getting people out onto the slopes or in any type of outdoor recreation. So we've seen a huge amount of growth. In the last 9 years, we have had about 500% growth in our participation. And we're up to nearly 6,000 outings a year. So that could be anywhere from a school group with kids on the autism spectrum to somebody who had a snowmobile accident and broke their back and needs to learn how to ski again in a sit ski. We serve all disabilities, all people with disabilities. So anything from physical to cognitive, developmental, behavioral, doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, of course, what the disability is, but we really focus on the individual and who that person is and what do they need so that we can help adapt to get them out doing what we all love to do. We also never turn anyone away based on their ability to pay. And I think that goes back to the DEI as well. We do a lot of scholarshiping, especially within the adaptive sports community. There can be a huge financial barrier. For instance, a sit ski, adaptive sit ski can be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000. An adaptive mountain bike is anywhere from 8 to 10. So for an individual who chances are has a lot of medical bills and financial needs because of their health, aren't going to have that kind of money to go out and spend, you know, what have you on a piece of equipment to own. So we provide that access and get people out. In addition to the equipment that we also have a huge depth of knowledge of the cognitive instruction that doesn't necessarily require adaptive equipment, but we need to know how to be able to help kids who might not have physical challenges, but they might have those cognitive developmental challenges. What else? We have a huge veterans program. We also serve all of our veterans free of charge. So, you know, regardless of your status, we want you to come and recreate. It's a very calm and safe space, I think, for a lot of vets who are coming back from some nasty stuff. And it's just a place where they can kind of be with people who they're comfortable with and they feel safe with out in the outdoors. And lastly, I think I can throw out all the stats and I can talk about all the equipment and all of our locations, but it really comes down to the people that we serve and the people who help us serve those athletes and participants. We have about 400 highly trained instructor volunteers who go through a massive amount of training with us as well as PSIA. And those are the people that share their passion with our participants and athletes. We have about 50% of our participants who live in Vermont, and the other 50% are just like our demographics for all of our resorts here in Vermont. They're traveling from mostly the Eastern Seaboard, some from the Midwest, some from the UK. But it's the human stories and the experiences. I can give you one quick one that happened. It's actually summer experience, but you'll get the idea. 2 guys came up from DC. They're both wheelchair users, and we took them out adaptive mountain biking for the first time. And if you have never seen adaptive mountain bikes, I highly recommend you look up Reactive Adaptations. They're out of Crested Butte. That's where we get our bikes from. They're pretty intense. They're big machines, and you either go head first or you're sitting upright, depending on your disability. And these guys went out on some trails. They didn't do downhill biking at Killington. They just went out on some local trails here in the area. And about 2 miles out, one of them turned to one of our instructors and just said, you know, this is the deepest I've been in the woods since my accident. And that right there, we take for granted what we do in the mountains, and getting people either back to what they used to know or introducing for the first time. Those are the stories I like to tell. So if you are in markets where you would like me to hook you up with the human interest story, I have participants and volunteers from all sorts of markets here in New England, and I'd happy to put you in touch with them or answer any other questions.
Well, thank you very much, Kim Jackson from Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports. I love these programs around the country, and thanks for all the work that you do. we appreciate everyone hanging in with us. We have one more presentation to make. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Blumenfeld again. Jeff?
Yeah, for corporate member Raccoon Events asked me to present just briefly what they're planning to do. Apparently, it's past their bedtime in the UK. The Boston Ski and Snowboard Expo is back. It's being renamed as the Snowboard Expo. It's November 18 to 20. They have a lineup of speakers across 2 stages. They expect Bodie Miller, Chris Davenport, Dan Egan, Conrad Anker, and brands and resorts that are signed up include Blizzard, Burton, Altera, Head, Helly Hansen, and a whole bunch more. They're going to offer visitors the latest in gear and tech and apparel. There won't be a sale per se, but each of the exhibitors will be selling gear out of their booths. For NASJA members, you have an opportunity, active press members, to order free tickets to that. Check the September newsletter for details on that. The press ticket code is Press Now. Actually, it's Press Now, PRESSNOW. So just go on the link and get your free tickets for that. 2 more things. They're planning November 17th, a press evening, and NASJA is going to plan a meeting, one of our fall meetings. We're going to do that November 18th in the morning. So we'll have our meeting at 9 o'clock and the show opens at 2 o'clock on November 18th. And that's it. Tom, why don't you show the sizzle reel?
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks to everybody, all of our presenters who gathered here. We went a little bit over, but this was really good information. So we all appreciate the time that everybody put into their presentations. Thank you all for attending, and watch for our next program coming from NASJA. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.